Hello, and welcome back to a Tuesday Talk with Hannah. I'm Hannah Levin from Heartfelt Wellbeing, and today I'm discussing the topic of breath, which could really be a multi-day or multi-year discussion. In this time that we have together today, I just want to introduce you to a few of the ways that breath can impact your experience of living each day, how the breath can be supportive in ways that we might actually, in our culture, be more drawn to go towards medication for. And the breath is actually a very, very powerful tool and a gift to us in living our lives well that a lot of us don't even know about. So take a breath. Let's do it together. So, in order to be alive, we have to breathe, right? If we go without breath for a long time, we no longer are living. Breath is necessary for us to continue all of our life force energy tasks. It's necessary for circulation, it's necessary for digestion, it's necessary for the nourishment of all of our cells. And the basics that we learn about breath is that we need oxygen. So when we inhale, we breathe in oxygen and carbon dioxide, and then we breathe out carbon dioxide. So we have this exchange that happens inside the bodies. So let's do this right now. If you're watching with me live, you can let me know how this feels. Is to inhale and notice the temperature of the air. And then exhale and notice the temperature of the air. What do you notice? So if you want to write in the chat, let me know. Most of us will notice that the air coming in is cool, especially if you're in a colder environment, and the air leaving the body is warm. And this is a miraculous exchange that happens inside the body. Now, there's a lot of scientific information that is a part of breathing, and that's not so much what I'm going to go into today. Maybe I'll do that another time. What I am going to provide for you today are some very practical tools with the breath that will help you in your experience. So Sue says, yes, cool in and warm out. Isn't that amazing? Like, we're breathing all the time when we're awake, when we're asleep, and this exchange is happening. Our body is warming breath. Our body is receiving and releasing. There's a whole chemical reaction that's going on, and we don't really have to think about it. The issue is that most of us don't train ourselves very well, or we unconsciously train ourselves to breathe shallowly and to breathe rapidly. And so doing some breath training, which those of you who practice yoga have done to a certain extent, it depends on who your teachers are, who you're following, but the breath is one of the practices of yoga. So our breath greatly influences our energy, our cognition, our vitality, our metabolism. And so it's a pretty important piece of being alive that a lot of us don't pay any attention to. So before I invite you to change your breath again, I'd like you to just notice how you're breathing right now without really changing your breath. Often when we bring our attention to the breath, that initiates us being like, oh, take a big breath. But just notice, if you can, without changing it, what's happening with the breath. Notice if you're breathing in and out through your mouth or nose. And if you're here live, I'd love to hear your report or see your report. What do you notice right now in your breath? Are you breathing in and out through the nose or mouth? Maybe you're breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Are you breathing really deeply and slowly? Does the inhale or the exhale feel longer or shorter? So Sue, thank you for your participation, Sue. Sue says it's shallow and it's in and out through the nose. Yeah. Great. Thank you. And anybody else who's watching live, you're welcome to participate too. Or if you're watching the replay, you're welcome to participate as well. So, Phyllis says shallow until I start paying attention to it. Right. And when we bring attention to the breath, we're often like, oh my gosh, I need breath. It's kind of like if we haven't eaten a meal all day and somebody says, are you hungry? I just made some food. You're like, actually, I'm starving. I'm so hungry, right? It changes our perspective. That attention shifts our awareness. And then Jane says deep in and out of the nose. Wonderful. Yeah. So ideally we want to breathe in and out through the nose. The nose is made to be what we receive and release air from. We do have this emergency valve of our mouths that we can breathe through if needed. And the nose is made to moisten the air and warm the air as it comes into our bodies. And we also have all these little hairs in our nose that help to catch any sort of debris in the air, even viruses that are coming into our bodies. So there's a lot of research that shows that nose breathing is way preferable to mouth breathing. Mouth breathing is like when we have a bad cold, we need to breathe through our mouths, right? It's the emergency substitute. But really, we want to breathe even while exercising. And this is really important. Ayurveda says that we only want to exercise within the limit of that we can still breathe through our noses. If we need to switch to mouth breathing, and this takes some practice. I have trained myself to only breathe through my nose when I'm exercising. And at first it was really hard and I had to build up my capacity to breathe through my nose. After a while, it becomes a lot easier. And as you exercise, you'll begin to see that when you shift into mouth breathing, the body actually goes into the sympathetic nervous system. So it actually switches your physiology into a more agitated state, the fight, flight, or freeze state, versus the parasympathetic, which we stay in as long as we're breathing through our noses. So that's really interesting to be aware of as well, that breathing through the nose is really, really important. Some people tape their mouth shut while they sleep. There's a lot of research that shows that mouth breathing creates a lot of health issues and restructuring of the face, which can mean that your jaw can't fit all of your teeth and you need to have braces or have your teeth pulled or your jaw widened. It narrows everything. So breathe through your nose. And I do recommend the book Breathe by James Nestor if you're really curious about, or Breath by James Nestor, he goes into a lot of the scientific research and specifically about the difference between mouth and nose breathing. So let's get into some of the breath options that you can use consciously to support your health and well-being. So the first ones I'm going to share with you are balancing breaths. So basically, we can simply invite the breath to be equal inhale and equal exhale. And there's a breath that's used quite frequently called the yogic breath that is an equal inhale and equal exhale and an awareness of how the breath is filling the body. So the diaphragm sits above your stomach, kind of at the base of your ribs area in the middle, and it needs to expand and then pop back up with the breath. So a lot of us are chest breathers, and chest breathing creates, oh no, my phone's about to die. I hope that this hope that I can make this broadcast before it dies. So a lot of chest breathing is keeping us from receiving the full benefit from our breath. So let's try some yogic breath. We're gonna put the hands on the belly. And so you're gonna inhale and imagine your whole torso being a vessel and filling up from the bottom up to the top. So as you inhale, belly comes out. With inhale, belly comes out. If you're a reverse breather, your belly is gonna come in and you need to retrain yourself. Belly expands with the inhale, fill up all the way. So your chest is going to broaden, rib cage moves expansively, fill the chest rise. And then exhale, we're going to go opposite. Relax chest, soften ribs, and belly pulls in. Okay, so you got that idea. So let's do this a couple breaths to the count of 5. We're going to inhale to a count of 5, exhale to a count of 5, and we'll do that twice. So exhale all your air. And here we go. Inhale from the bottom of your vessel up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Feel that belly pull in. Again, inhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. Feel that belly pull in. So just notice how hard or easy that was for you to soften the belly, to feel the body expand in all these directions, and also notice how you feel afterwards. Do you feel a little more enlivened, maybe even lightheaded, if you just took in a lot more breath than you're used to? Interesting, huh? So the next balancing breath that I'm going to teach you is called alternate nostril breathing, or Nadi Shodhana. So this is what it sounds like, alternate nostrils. So we're going to breathe through one nostril at a time. And the pattern is that we're going to exhale and inhale and then switch nostrils. Exhale, inhale. So we can do this by placing the index finger and middle finger on the forehead or curling them down into the palm. And I'm going to do that just so you can see more clearly what I'm doing. So we're going to have one nostril controlled by the thumb, one nostril controlled by the ring finger and pinkies extended for elegance. Okay, so we're going to press in with the thumb, and you're using your dominant hand, so whichever hand that is for you. Inhale through the ring finger side. And then press in with the ring finger, exhale out the thumb side. Stay here, inhale. Press in with the thumb while the breath is held in, exhale, ring finger side. Stay here, inhale. And switch. Exhale, thumb side. Stay here, inhale, thumb side. Press in with the thumb, release the ring finger, exhale. So you got this pattern, you're switching when the breath is held out. So I'd like you to keep going. I'm just going to talk a little bit for things for you to try while you're doing this. So one thing I want you to notice is if you can come back to that yogic breathing while you're doing the alternate nostril breathing. So can the belly be soft? Can you fully fill your body? You don't need to go fast. There's no rush or race here. So can you fully fill your torso from the bottom to the top with your inhale, and then release from the top to the bottom with your exhale while you're doing the alternate nostril breathing? Now there's some interesting things you can do with alternate nostril breathing. one thing is to do that balanced breath like we did with the yogic breath, like inhale to a count of 5, exhale to a count of 5. Now that's balancing for the hemispheres of the brain. The alternate nostrils go to the opposite hemisphere of the brain, okay? So we're balancing the hemispheres of the brain. So if you feel like very caught up in like logical thought and you want to kind of balance that out, you can do some alternate nostril breathing. If you feel like you're a little brain foggy and want to wake up a little bit, alternate nostril breathing. If you feel like you want to wind down before you go to bed, alternate nostril breathing. In the morning, I do alternate nostril breathing before I meditate every morning. It's very balancing and harmonizing. One of the things you can do if you have a tendency towards overstimulation, overwhelm, or anxiety is to extend the exhale while you're doing the alternate nostril breathing. For instance, when I do alternate nostril breathing every morning, I inhale to a count of 6 and exhale to a count of 12. So that's a 1-to-2 ratio. So shall we try that? Let's just do one back and forth with the count of 12. So wherever you are, you don't have to be on the same nostril as I am. I'm going to inhale to a count of 6. Oh, sorry, I'm counting internally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we're going to switch exhale to a count of 12. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Inhale, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Switch. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So do you feel how that long exhale, hopefully you're like squeezing out all the air that might be kind of sitting stagnant in your lungs at the end of that? Pretty powerful. Any feedback is welcome in the chat if you want to report in on how that felt for you. That alternate nostril breathing and maybe the extension, maybe you're continuing it right now, can be really, really nice. So Sue says inhale is harder than exhale. Yeah, so that's a great observation. There's more ease with letting go. Yeah, and if you have a deviated septum or you're dealing with any kind of like congestion, alternate nostril breathing can be a little challenging too. So, but it's a great one for just general use. So another breath, well, actually, let's move on. So the next categories that I wanted to talk about are warming and cooling breaths. So we can really use breath to help us with things like hot flashes or cold hands and feet, right? So these are things that we often rush to the doctor and say, I need a medication for, or check my thyroid or run a hormone panel or something. And those things can be helpful to know what's going on for sure. I'm not knocking those. But we don't always need medication for what we're experiencing. Same with high blood pressure. So alternate nostril breathing is a very helpful, especially that 1-to-2 ratio for lowering blood pressure naturally. Okay. So a lot of times high blood pressure, if you have high blood pressure, you might notice that you breathe very shallowly and rapidly. Alternate nostril breathing will be really helpful for that. Okay, so back to warming and cooling breaths. So I'm going to just teach you one of each. There's lots of options out there in the world, but I want to keep it simple in here. Like here's your simplified toolbox of breath, okay? So let's learn cooling breath first. So this is like inner air conditioning and is very helpful when you're having a hot flash or in a really hot environment. And it can just help cool you down. So the breath relies a little bit on a genetic trait, although if you don't have this trait, I can show you an alternative. But we want to roll the tongue into a tube. Okay, and we're going to inhale through that tube. If you can't do that, you want to make a little O with your lips and let the breath come in over the tongue. Okay, so you feel that that air is cooled. This is one breath. I think this is the only breath today where I'm going to be showing you that you inhale through your mouth. Okay, and then you're going to exhale through your nose. So let's try that a few times. Again, doing your yogic breath, right? So we're fully breathing, belly is relaxed. Let's do one more. Feel yourself cooling down. So ideally you would do this more than 3 times, maybe 10 to 20 times to cool yourself down. But for the sake of time, we're gonna stop there. Any reflections, any noticing from that cooling breath? Curious to hear that you'll feel it. You'll definitely feel that cooling. So the alternative or the opposite of cooling is heating. And so we're going to do a heating breath. This is called breath of fire. So what we just learned is called Shitali pranayam, which is cooling breath. Shita in Sanskrit means cold. Ushna means hot. So we could say these are the Shita and the cooling and the Ushna breaths. And I always remember Shita because it's like Shita, it's cold, right? So when I had to memorize all these things when I was in Ayurveda school, that's how I remembered it. So Christine says, very cooling. Excellent. Glad you could feel that. So the next breath, the breath of fire, is we're going to forcefully pull in with the belly on the exhale. And so you're going to feel your belly pull in as you forcefully exhale out your nose, like you're blowing your nose. And there's a passive inhale, belly softens, and then exhale. So you'll feel this like pulling in, pulling in, pulling in, pulling in. Okay. So I'm going to start slow and then speed up, and you can join me and see how this feels. If you're a reverse breather, this is going to be a little more challenging for you. See if you can relax your belly with your inhale, pull in with your exhale. All right. So notice what happens here. You might feel a little lightheaded if you're not used to this amount of oxygenation in your body. And you might notice that there's a little warmth that you've been able to build. Over time, you can add more to this. Many of you who have done yoga with me, we've done this bellows breath. So it's that breath, but bringing the arms down. So reaching arms up. Right? And moving, that creates even more warmth. Okay, you got it? Warming and cooling. How did that feel? Warming. Do you feel some heat built in your body? Kind of cool, huh? So I actually used to use that breath of fire quite a bit when I was leading backpacking trips. And I'd be like really cold when I went to bed at night. And I would do sit-ups in my sleeping bag and breath of fire. And then I could go to sleep. I'd be warm. All right. So, not seeing any responses about the breath of fire. We'll see if anything comes in. Now let's look at energizing and calming breaths for our last few minutes here. So, energizing, you can use the breath of fire again. You can also do inhale through the nose and exhale out the mouth. And the bellows breath is very helpful too for energizing. For inhale and exhale out the mouth, it looks and sounds like this. And you're pulling your belly in with that exhale. Okay? So you want to try that a few rounds. So this is like waking your brain up. This is like a little natural caffeine if needed, which the bellows breath can help with too, but it's not as heating what we just did. Okay, and then calming breaths. If you're like, I'm really overwhelmed, agitated, calming. We did talk about the alternate nostril breathing with the extended exhale. That's very calming. Another really calming breath is Bhramari breath. Now, Bhramari means bumblebee. And bumblebee, Christine said, my hands did warm up a bit. Excellent. Yeah. Amazing what can happen in our physiology just by changing the breath. Yeah. So bumblebee breath is we're going to hum and create a resonance, a vibration of sound in our bodies. And the way we're going to do this is a sensory deprivation breath. So if you recognize that you're like overstimulated, overwhelmed, this helps you just take everything out for a little while. So we're going to bring our hands up. We're going to place the fingers over the eyes, and then the thumbs are going to plug the ears. So in just a moment, we'll do 3 of these. So you won't be like, when are we stopping? I can't hear her, right? So we're going to do 3 of these breaths. We're going to do a long, slow inhale through the nose, and then a hum at a low tone that you can maintain for as long as your breath lasts. But your eyes are covered, closed, you're in the darkness. Your ears are closed, which means that resonance is going to resound inside you. So let's try it. 3 breaths. Plugging everything up and starting deep inhale. So when you finish Bhramari breath, you might feel like, wow, I feel so much better. I feel more relaxed, maybe a little like calmer and maybe a little slower about things. Everything doesn't need to be in a rush. So this is a great breathing technique for anxiety, for overwhelm. When we feel like that feeling of just like, we're like uncomfortable inside ourselves, that Bhramari breath can be really, really, really helpful. So there's a little breath sampler. Oh, good. Phyllis says very calming. Wonderful. So thank you all who joined me live today, and those of you watching the replay, give me a #replay. The breath is a powerful medicine, and this is just the beginning. If you are really curious about the breath, there's so many more resources and practices that can be implemented into your life. And there's a saying, change your breath, change your life, and it's very, very true. So happy breathing, everyone. Have a beautiful rest of your day. May you enjoy all your breaths. May they be deep and nourishing. I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Take care.